The first thing Mark noticed was the cold, not the biting November wind that whipped through the cracked bus shelter, but the cold in the eyes of the twin girls sitting alone on the rusty bench. They looked so out of place, identical dark hair, matching scuffed sneakers, tiny backpacks clutched to their chests like shields. Mark pulled his beat-up truck to the curb and just sat there, the engine rattling. He knew he shouldn't get involved. He was already late picking up his son, Ethan, from band practice. He had dinner to make, laundry to fold. He was a single dad barely keeping his own world from falling apart. But something about those girls had their eyes too old for their age. Too empty. Grabbed hold of a part of him he thought he'd buried years ago, the part that remembered what it felt like to wait for help that never came. Mark stepped out, pulling his jacket tighter around his shoulders as the rain began to spit. He crouched down in front of them, trying not to startle them. "Hey, where is your family?" he asked softly. The girls glanced at each other, then down at the puddles forming at their feet. One of them spoke, her voice a hoarse whisper. "Mom said she'd be right back." Mark's stomach dropped. He looked at the flimsy backpacks and no coats, no snacks, just two little girls, abandoned in the middle of nowhere. He could hear his mother's voice in his head. "Hey, don't get involved, Mark. You've got your own problems." But that wasn't him anymore. Or maybe it never was. He took a breath and leaned in closer. "Come with me," he whispered. "I'll get you somewhere safe. Warm food. You can call your mom from my house." They didn't answer right away, but when he held out his hands, they reached for him without a word, each grabbing hold like they'd been waiting for someone to finally see them. That night, Mark's small living room turned into a patchwork family shelter. Ethan was confused when he got home as Dad standing there with two strangers, making hot chocolate like it was no big deal. Ethan hadn't smiled in months, not really, not since his mom died and their life cracked down the middle. He kept to himself, headphones in, eyes down. But he watched as the twins giggled over the marshmallows in their cocoa. He watched as his dad tucked blankets around them on the pull-out couch. He watched as the girls fell asleep within minutes, soft snores filling the silence that had haunted their house for too long. For the first time in forever, Ethan stayed in the living room too. He didn't say much, just sat near the couch and watched the twins sleep, his headphones forgotten. The next morning, the phone rang and the miracle began. It was Child Protective Services. Mark explained what had happened, ready for judgment, maybe even trouble. But instead, the woman on the line said something that caught him off guard. "You did the right thing, sir. Those girls have been missing for 3 days. Their mother abandoned them before we were close to giving up hope." Mark felt his chest tighten. He looked over at the girls, now wide awake and playing with Ethan's old Lego set on the floor. They were laughing. Actually laughing. He realized he hadn't heard that sound in his house in over a year. When the social worker arrived, the twins clung to Mark's leg. They didn't want to leave. Ethan knelt down beside them, showing them how his favorite toy truck worked. Mark caught his son's eyes and saw something there that hadn't been there since the funeral: light. After the girls were safely placed with a loving foster family, Ethan did something that surprised them both. He asked if they could volunteer at the local shelter together, just once a week. "We could help other kids like them," Ethan mumbled, his hands stuffed in his hoodie pocket. Mark's throat felt too tight to speak. He pulled his son into a hug instead. For the first time in months, the distance between them closed, replaced by something warm and whole. It turned out the real miracle wasn't just rescuing the girls, it was what they gave back in return. They cracked open the locked doors of a grieving father and son's hearts. They reminded Mark that doing the right thing, no matter how small, sends ripples that heal in ways you can't always see. They reminded Ethan that no one is truly alone, that even the worst nights can end in a sunrise. So the next time you see someone waiting in the cold at a bus stop, in a line, in life, maybe remember this: one quiet act of kindness can be the miracle someone has been waiting for.